if I was in a situation, where I was an employee, having that extra income, $500,000, I would, depending on, the relationship, married, girlfriend or whatever, I would say, well, I'm going to take X amount of this money and use it to live off whilst I figure out what to do. That's kind of really the only way that money can buy you time, is you're not trading your time for dollars. Like, you've got the dollars up front. Yeah. So now you can reallocate that time, not as being an employee, but basically living and deciding, if you enjoy it, like if I enjoy the job that I'm doing, then fine. You just continue doing that, and just added bonus, you've got $500,000. Hey Shane, how you going?
I'm good. I'm doing good. And you?
That's good. Yeah, I'm not bad. It's I'm a bit surprised how close we are to Christmas. We were chatting earlier, and I can't believe it's only, at least as of this recording, it's only a couple of days, and it's gone quick for me. So it's something that's really surprising.
Yeah, this whole year actually has been kind of a blink. It's gone that quickly. But I was thinking about some people, and there was something I'd heard in the last couple of days. Someone I know that came into quite a big windfall, and I was thinking, wow, Christmas isn't upon us. Coming up to the time where we're taking some holidays and things like that, and what would $500,000 in your back pocket do for you? Like waking up one morning and getting that phone call, you've just won $500,000. Not an insignificant amount of money.
No, that's a decent amount of money. And the first thing I'd probably say is, wait, who died? Because that is a lot of money. And you know what? I'll leave that one up to you first. While I have to think about what I'm going to do with my imaginary $500,000.
Yeah, I've got quite a big bucket list, and I think
okay.
I might do some of the boring stuff first. I think I'd like to pay that mortgage off, because that's kind of painful every week or every month when it comes out of the bank. But I think I'd even settle for the home that I've got. I don't think I need to upgrade or anything, but there's certainly, I'd love to put a pool in the back. And, some of the cars that I've sold over the years, I wish I could get them back.
Yeah.
But, but my favorite car actually sold for more than $500,000. So I don't think I'm going to be able to afford it with the, the windfall. But, having said that, it'd be really nice, especially this time of year, to give people a nice gift, with family. It'd be nice to, give everyone $10,000 or $20,000 extra in their bank, to do whatever they wanted to do, I think. I haven't got a huge list, really. That was a lie. I'd like to take some trips, buy my favorite car, and pay the house off, I think.
I think I'm the same. I think I've lived enough years to realize that the things that I think that I want, once I get them, I kind of, I won't say I lose interest in it, but I'm grateful to have attained it. But it sometimes it can lose its luster, if you know what I mean, and just the want for something and the chase for something, I find a bit more exciting. Yeah. And so, given a gift of, say, $500,000, like I probably would do something similar to you initially in my head. I'll buy this car, I'll buy those shoes, I'll buy this watch. And then it's like, but the stuff that I have that already fulfill that role, the watch that isn't as expensive or the car that isn't as fast, like they're doing the job just fine. And, I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah.
So initially I'd be like, oh, I can buy this. And then the practical side of me would go, oh, but I have to like maintain it. And then, everything's expensive for it.
Yeah.
Even buying a big house with all these rooms, the adult side kicks in and it's like, well, it's $500,000. It's still a lot of money, but not enough to like live super, super comfortably. It's like, wait a minute, I've got to heat this house up and I've got to pay for electricity, on this house. I've got to pay rates now. I wanted to buy this other house. And, it's funny because it's not, look, it is a lot of money on its own, but it's not enough to be like, oh, I'm set. It's like, this will make things a little bit easier. And I think I would pretty much do something similar to you. Like I'd pay off any debts that are just there, that credit card that I might have taken out decades ago because I got something on 12 months interest free. It's still that I put something on it once. I'll probably pay that off. I would most likely, I would give some of it away. And I think, I think that would be probably it. I'd buy some small things here and there, but like I said, I've only discovered recently, and it might have been in the last 3 or 5 years, that I'm more of a journeyman. Like, the want for something, the chase for something, the doing things in order to get closer to whatever that thing is that I want. And it, obviously in a materialistic way. And once I get it, it's kind of like, oh, I've got it. Like, it's cool. It wasn't like I was going to get this thing and it was going to change my entire world. It was just like another tick. It was just like, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, what do I get the next model now? Or do I get a different color?
Yeah.
So, pay off debts, buy like probably small things. I reckon it's funny. I probably would still keep my tastes at the same level. You know what I mean? Maybe just a little bump up. It's not like I'm going to suddenly drop, $300,000 on a car. I might like, all these cars that I like, they're still kind of cheap. I'll just buy a lot of them, rather than buy one expensive car. And yeah. And I think I'd probably do more experiences than anything else. Like, I used to clown on people initially about that. I used to be quite materialistic and just want all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then after a while, it's like, you know what? It's just like, I'd rather do things with the family or with friends and do some other stuff with that money. But yeah, it is a decent amount of money, but one that you have to actually be a little bit more mindful of where you spend. Yeah, because that'll go real quick.
It can, yeah. Especially in where we live in this part of the world, $500,000 is a substantial amount of money, but it can certainly, you could probably blow that in a couple of years, really, if you wanted to. That's not even enough money to buy a really decent house. In your kind of main areas, unless you want to live, way out in the country somewhere. But it's funny. Some time ago, I realized that us as humans, we do attach the amount of money to time as well. And I started thinking, okay, how much? If I had something like $1 million, and I never had to work again, how long could that sustain me? And that really depended on your lifestyle, obviously, But you could probably, if you had $1 million in the bank, and say you never ever invested the thing, but you just kept it there, and you could probably live off that money for next 10 years, 20 years, before it ran out. And I suppose someone in the latest stage of life, you'd probably go, wow, that's a substantial amount of money. If you were 20 years old, still a substantial amount of money, but it's not going to sustain you for the rest of your life. So I think, depending where you are in your stage of life, kind of depends what you'll do with that money too. I think if I was younger, I'd be a lot more reckless and let me go and get every, let me go and get a Lamborghini or something
Yeah.
like that, and I'd realize, 20 years later how stupid I was doing that. And, these days I would invest that money and see how I can maximize the thing, but, attaching that kind of amount, I guess, to the amount of time we spend really puts you in a stage where you start thinking, what else can I do? If it didn't mean that I had to turn up to a job, because we turn up to the job, main reason for the income, and, hopefully we enjoy it as well. But what if you didn't have to, and this kind of brought you back 10 years of your life, and that if that's all it did, if you didn't have to pay the house off, or you didn't have to do these things, you just maintain your lifestyle just the way you did, but it brought back your time, so you could start to dedicate it to a lot of things that you keep kind of putting off, and like you said about the adventure and experience of life, I'd contemplated many times, what if, you had that money, but you moved to a place like maybe Bali or Thailand or something like that, where the cost of living is much less. Love holidaying there. How about I make it a long holiday, and go and stay there for a couple of years. And, it kind of opens up a lot of possibility, because you're not kind of tied to the place you work as well, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you'd essentially quadruple your money if you did that.
Yeah.
You win $500,000 and decide to live in Southeast Asia in one of the cheaper countries. Like you'd live like a king.
Yeah.
And it'd be, it'd quadruple 5x, 10x, depending on how you lived.
Yeah.
But I do like that answer. I think had I have been in the situation where I was an employee, like where most people are, or what most people are, then that money, I would imagine, would be used to offset income and potentially try and figure out what it is that I want to do. Basically not work. Like that's kind of, I think, what most people would like to do. I'm not saying that everyone does, but, for me, ultimately, I've found that, and it's funny you mentioned this, because I had just met up with a client today, and he's quite successful in his business. He's got a nice business, good sized business, does some exciting stuff, and he's growing tired of it. He's staffing issues and business and money woes and all of this sort of stuff. And it just reiterated to me how lucky I am to be able to at least work for myself and to sustain, a certain level of income that I'm quite comfortable with, and then have the opportunity to then grow depending on how much work I put in. And if I was in a situation, where I was an employee, having that extra income, $500,000, I would, depending on, the relationship, married, girlfriend or whatever, I would say, well, I'm going to take X amount of this money and use it to live off whilst I figure out what to do. Like, do I want to change careers? Do I want to start my own business, if that's ideally the thing? Because that's kind of really the only way that money can buy you time, is you're not trading your time for dollars. Like, you've got the dollars up front. Yeah. So now you can reallocate that time, not as being an employee, but basically living and deciding, if you enjoy it, like if I enjoy the job that I'm doing, then fine. You just continue doing that, and just added bonus, you've got $500,000. If you don't, then either look for another job. You could probably afford to take a pay cut, but as long as you enjoy it, that could be something that could be better. Yeah. Or better yet, do your own thing. Just discover it. I think everyone at some point in their life thinks about it and goes, I'd love to work for myself. And some people act on it. Some people are like, it's too hard. But, having $500,000 there could be like, well, maybe I've got a bit of money here. I can do a bit of research. I don't have to worry about that mortgage payment or, all these bills that are racking up. So the money there, not only does it buy time, but it buys opportunity. It can buy your dreams as well. Like it's, it can do so many things depending on your situation. So, had I been an employee, I would have done that. I would have allocated some funds. I would have, done some soul searching and figured it out. But on the flip side, I do like your idea. I do know of some people that they live 6 months here and they live 6 months in Thailand.
Yeah.
So the winter months they spend over there, and the summer months they stay here. And they've got a house which they own, and they rent it off for the 6 months that they're not here. So it's kind of this happy thing where everything's kind of status quo.
Yeah.
So I get that. And I have another client who I spoke with. It would have been a couple of years ago, and they made a pretty big decision, and I thought it was quite good. So they're married, no kids, and they'd had a house for a while, and they hadn't. They still had a mortgage, but they decided to sell the house and just rent. And what they did was, with the money, they had a bit of a lump sum there because the house made some money, and they said, "Well, we'll just travel for as often as we can. So whatever we earn, we pay the rent, and then we just save up, and then we just travel and travel and travel and travel." Because for them, it was all about experiences. Like they had nothing tying them down. So, that could be something else to do, is just basically whatever it is that you enjoy doing, whether it be traveling or anything like that, you just sort of do that. So it's interesting now how initially, and you're right, it is down to age and how you are as a person. Whereas some people, like $500,000, you talk to a tech bro who's into Bitcoin, they're like, "Oh, I invested in this coin and invested in that." And like, I don't need money. I just stick it in there and take a look back in 30 minutes and find that it's tripled, and pull it out. Or you'll have some people that'll be like, "Okay, well, $500,000. Well, it just means like I need another $1 million so I can buy like the latest Porsche," sort of thing. So,
yeah.
But in hindsight, I think your answer is the right one, at least for me anyway. Where it would buy time for me, yet at the same time, I would use it to buy. I'd use it to buy time for me to think about stuff, but then I would use it to buy things that would accelerate my growth. So in terms of a small business owner, or working on your own, like people to help you on your business. A virtual assistant, not so much an employee, because I think that would be a bit, I've had them before, and I'd rather work on my own and just have some virtual assistants, or contractors. Yes. I would put some money on that and just make a real go of it.
Yeah. I suppose, everything's relative, isn't it? It's not really about the number. It really comes down to who we are and what our focus is. Because while you were talking, I was thinking, $500,000 to one person that perhaps lives in a very small town in a country town in Australia. They could probably buy him 2 or 3 houses, But you give $500,000 to Donald Trump, he's not going to blink, So. It's all relative and to the outlook you have, isn't it? And my outlook for the probably last decade or so has been kind of freedom based, I guess. And for me, regardless of the amount of money, I always think, okay, how can it buy me more time? Of course, it can't buy you more time, but it can buy you what you do with that time that you have, right? And for me, I think it's always about doing the good work, the thing that you think is kind of meaningful to you. Because I think I spent a lot of time just doing stuff for doing stuff to make money, to pay bills. And when I look back, I go, there's a lot of things that I did that were meaningful, that were outside of my work time, And I really wanted to combine the two, so every day I woke up and did something purposeful that was, meaningful to me. Not to say that what I was doing at work wasn't meaningful. It was certainly meaningful to somebody, it was helping somebody, and that was a good thing. But it didn't kind of fulfill me. So I think, coming back to that thing with the money, how could I, expand on that? Use this to kind of make sure that every day I'm doing something that is purposeful for my life and helps somebody else as well. Money is an essential part of our life, regardless of where you live. I guess it does help in many facets of life, and even they say most of the world lives on $1 a day. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what they say, and but they even measure that by money. The poorest parts of the world. There's great famines because they don't have access to some sort of income to help them out of that way of life, and the money that is contributed from other people that do have it help to kind of change that in some regard. Even if you go there and do something where you help manually through labor and things like that, there's got to be some exchange of money somewhere for that to happen, and so I think even just $500,000, that's a lot of money to people.
Yeah, no, it is. It's in anyone's language, really. It's a lot, and it's funny how up until this point, what are we in now? We're like 20 minutes in, and none of us had said donate, which I understand. I think I've heard of enough horror stories now to know that some people, some organizations, not naming any one in particular, but you just don't know exactly what it is that they're doing with the money.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, I'm going to give you like $10,000, which sounds like a lot of money. And it is. But how much of that money actually goes to the cause that it is that you're trying to support, versus just giving the money to somebody that needs it, that might fall under that banner. It's almost a case of where actually physically doing the work or helping them with your own manual labor seems to be kind of like the way to go. But it's, and the other thing that we haven't really referenced is the happiness. Because I think both you and I are quite content, with how we're going with life. So it's not like, oh, I want to buy this because it'll make me feel better, or I want to do this because, I haven't been feeling the best and it might pep me up. And I think for some people, that could be the case. They might want to buy things to either improve their self-esteem or their image or something like that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it's surprising because I know you and I know me. So it's kind of expected that we would have answered this way. But other people I know would have said, oh, I want to buy this because I want people to look at me in a different light. I want to fit in with like the it crowd. I don't want to have, like the dirtiest shoes kind of thing. I want to spend all this money on that sort of stuff. So it's interesting to know that, to hear that we've not attached money to happiness, which is what some people do.
Yeah.
And I think which is ultimately linked to how and why people would want to buy things. If you kind of go down the line, like sometimes it could be just maybe a happiness or a feeling within yourself. Because some people say that, oh, okay, once I get a Rolex, then I know that I've made it, or once I get a Patek or something like that. But then for who? For you or for somebody? Like you can buy yourself a fake Rolex, no one will tell. It's the same thing. And so like I am now kind of defaulting to the experiences, to the buying time, to the helping to accelerate things that I kind of want to do. rather than just getting the next shiny object.
Yeah, it's interesting. That thing where you said about the Rolex, when I get this, I've made it. That type of thing. I used to say that with the when I get a Porsche, it means I've made it.
I still want to get a Porsche too, by the way.
I still want to get a Porsche, but the feeling's different. It's more the love of the car than the status, whereas when I made that statement, it was all about, it's kind of like ticking that box off, when I've done that, I kind of know that I'm in the kind of financial kind of arena I want to play in, and it's definitely not that anymore, but the desire of having that Porsche is still there, for a person that kind of loves cars.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, isn't it? Oh, sorry, my dog's come to say hello. Hello. With in terms of having these things of status, that is a big thing, with when it comes to money. It is a lot about how does the world see me. If I've got this, and then what does that say about me and what I've achieved? Sorry, I've been kind of
no, that's okay.
by Bill.
No, that's all right. I'm going to flip the script a little bit because I'd be interested to know your thoughts on this, because I have been.
Yeah.
It's not something I've been thinking for a while, but occasionally when it comes up and I hear it on podcasts or I hear it on TV or someone else, I always think about it and go, I wonder how this would work in society. But what are your thoughts on universal basic income? Because it's kind of related in a way. Because we're talking about, we're talking about money. We're talking about how, a large sum of it, we would probably use it to buy certain things that we probably wouldn't, because the amount of disposable cash we have isn't as much as $500,000, and in doing so, we kind of do it to scratch a particular itch that we have, whether it be a financial goal that we had, or a particular materialistic object that we go, once we got this, then I've achieved this status.
Yeah,
so if everyone had universal basic income. How does that change? Like, how do you see that happening? Because it's been flaunted quite a lot.
Yeah.
And in my head, it's just something that I can't really. I can understand it in a in a very basic level.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you kind of live for? I don't understand it. It seems very foreign to me.
Yep.
That if everyone has, let's just say it's $100,000, right? If your basic needs are met, do you just keep on living? Like what do you strive for? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. It's an interesting one, because I had contemplated that. I didn't know the term that you were asking, but now I understand. But it was something I contemplated a while ago, where if everyone got the same amount of income, just as a base, and we work for X amount of hours, and within that X amount of hours, you did whatever you could do to contribute to society, whatever the best thing was that you could do. And I think most of us are striving to do that anyway. Imagine if you could just do your best work, whatever that was. And but perhaps you had been brought up in a way that perhaps you were more artistically inclined, but you were taught that you had to be academic to kind of make it in the world. And so you've got these fantastic artistic skills, but they're kind of not recognized in the world. But we know from society that's not true, because a large part of the world, we look up to singers and artists and creative people. It's kind of I always think of it as the mortar within the bricks, and the academic is kind of like the bricks, the logical side of things. So if you were brought up that way, you're not doing your best work anyway,
Mm.
in the world, but you're getting by. And I think if we lived in a world where, regardless of what you did, but it was deemed as useful to the world, you would still get paid. But I don't know if you'd base that on your time or the value that you bring. But it sounds utopian.
It does, yeah.
But it's kind of like, couldn't we explore that to see if that could work? Because I am sure that money's a made-up thing anyway. So we could certainly pay everyone the amount of money if they were put in the time and the effort into the thing that they're a genius at. So, for instance.
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm certain that this is the case. Now, I don't know if it was something that used to happen or actually still does happen in some countries. But I remember hearing, and again, this could be my imagination, but I don't think it is. But it could have been decades ago. I would say if I was to put a number, it might be maybe 30 years ago, maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago plus. That, and this was around the time when, say, university was free, that certain jobs that we would say get paid a lot now, doctor, surgeon, all that sort of stuff, they used to all get paid the same amount of money back in the day. Like a doctor would be, I don't know, $20,000. But then you had another job of the same kind of relevance. So not like a doctor and somebody else. It could be like a doctor, maybe an accountant or someone else. Like they all roughly made the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And now when you sort of fast forward, doctors make huge amounts of money and certain other industries sort of stay the same. So I think, I still think that was the case. I'd have to do a bit of research on that. But I Googled universal basic income while you were talking, just to get a bit of an explanation. And so Google says UBI is a government-provided, regular, no-strings-attached cash payment to all citizens, regardless of their income or work status, designed to create a financial floor, reduce poverty, empower individuals, and I don't know why it says especially women, and provide security against job displacement from automation. It says key characteristics. It's universal, so it's paid to everyone in the society. Basic, intended to cover essential needs, can be full or partial. Income, it's a regular cash payment, and this is interesting. It's unconditional, so no work requirements or means testing.
Oh, wow.
Which means that, if you were to follow this almost word for word, and I remember this argument being brought up, it would almost stifle creativity, in a way where if this amount of money is all you needed to live because you've always lived frugally, and you don't. I'm not so much, you're happy with what you've got. You could be the most creative person around, but if all of your needs are met, it's like, why bother? You know what I mean? You get up, you watch your TV, you get paid, and you do whatever it is that you do with the money that you've got. And if you're always quite happy with it, then you're fine. And it's funny because I actually know some of these people. I have some of these people as friends, and I remember having a different vision of them in my head, knowing what their potential could be. And I think we might have spoken about this in one of the episodes, but either I, rightly or wrongly, when I get to know a person and they're a friend, I sometimes put them in positions, not on purpose. It's entirely accidental. I could be, I know a lot of people. I have a nice, really good group of friends, and I could be, I might have a new client working on their computer system, and they might be, I don't know, they might work in a particular industry. And I go, oh, you know what, my friend would be really good at that industry because of their personality, or because of their knowledge or because of their skill. They could do this. And then I might ask them about it, and they're like, no, I'm happy doing like whatever it is that I'm doing. Like, wait, but you've got skills. You're really good at this. You could take the next step.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, Like I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and I'm like, oh. And sometimes I get jealous of that.
Yeah.
Like being content in that one thing, and they could be doing that one thing for like a decade.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you have do you have drive? Do you have ambition? Do you want to do something? And they're like, yeah, no, not really. Yeah, I'm happy to do the same thing, earn the same amount of money, save towards the yearly family holiday sort of thing, and that's it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, but you can do so much more. And but I'm happy.
Yeah.
And the person, they're entirely happy. And I can't prod them. I'm not them, so I don't really know. But they just seem really happy. And sometimes I just get angry and get jealous at the same time because I can see potential. And I think having something like this, having a universal basic income, could almost get people into that mode where it's like, if I can comfortably live on $50,000 a year, then, I'm just going to do that. Me, I think I've told you, I think I've got borderline ADHD. So I'm always busy. I want to do something. Yeah. I want to do a lot of self-development. I want to know how I think and try different things. And so when people say that we're just going to give you this and all you have to do is nothing, I'll go nuts. I'll go bananas. I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the proviso, with that universal base income would be that I would make it where you have to do something. It just means contribution. But the contribution is up to you, and it could be X amount of hours. It could be the type of work, like if you do this, it's only 10 hours. I don't know. I don't know about that, but you were saying something about, creativity, and if you're already getting the money, you probably wouldn't be creative. But I think for me as a creator, there's so many things that I've done that I don't get paid for. And I think that's the difference. The difference is creativity is for the sake of creativity itself. It's not money driven. You can create things that are money driven, but I think the drive is different though. You're not doing it for the sake of it's something that has to come out of you internally. It's kind of like, I'm doing this so I can do that. And I think that's kind of how most of society has kind of been trained to think that way. How you said with doctors, they get paid X amount, and, why would someone be a doctor other than, say, a cleaner or something like that, if all of them were getting paid the same type of money, right? And I guess that's where there's that internal shift makes it a level playing field. Some people, I've met cleaners that absolutely enjoyed their day doing what they were doing. I don't know why. That's not me. But the stuff that I do, people go, "Why are you interested in that?" It's not their interest at all. And but I remember days when I was doing my art for people, and I would jump out of bed at 7 o'clock. I'd sit there till 10 o'clock at night because I absolutely loved doing it. And that was the drive. Yes, I was getting paid for it, but it wasn't the first thing. And I think, if we had that kind of opportunity where it kind of changed, where we were kind of taking the money side out of it. So it starts from a place of, if you got paid exactly the same as what you are getting paid today, and it was enough, say it was enough, it's a level playing field, what would you do instead? Or would you still keep doing what you're doing now? And if you still keep doing what you're doing now, then continue on. But if there's a thing where you go, I'd rather be doing this and getting paid the same amount of money, even if I never got paid any more, that's where you should start, And I think that's that creative spark inside yourself. You've got a desire for something else, and it could be being a doctor, it could be helping other people, it could be pushing a broom around, cleaning houses, It could be many things, but if it's not what you're doing, there's that internal spark, that creativity inside of you, and it's not money driven.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me pose another question, because I've got lots of questions today. And it was only just based off what you just said. Do you think then that money allows more creativity or constricts creativity? So if you had less money, do you think you'd be more creative? Or if you had more money, do you think you would be more creative?
That's interesting. I think if you have more money, it allows you to be more creative if you're not focused on the money. Because what it does is, like I said before, I think there is a point where money can be attached to time and your activity. And I think if you were able to get to a point where you didn't have to think about the money anymore, it allows your mind to be free to be creative, because you have a focus of, I have to get up. It's Monday morning. I don't want to go to work. That's what your focus becomes, right? Or even if you go, I have to go to work because I have to make the money, pay the bills and everything, that becomes your focus. If you never ever had to think about that again, it allows your mind to focus on other things, and it gives you the time to kind of introspect and connect and go, what is it I really want to do, and start from there. But you'll never think about that if your mind is always thinking about, where's my next dollar coming from, and I have to make sure I turn up to this place where I don't really want to be. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just not what I want to do. And so I think, yes, the money becomes that foundation of security, I guess, where when you've got enough, you can start to elevate. So when you get past that first stage of scarcity, I guess, and survival, when you go past that stage, that's where you can elevate. But imagine if we never had to worry about that, and we come back to this, UBI, where that has been eliminated. You don't have to think about scarcity and survival anymore, because money's been taken care of. You just get to concentrate on what's your best work. What do you do to contribute to the world?
It's funny because I kind of had the opposite answer to you until you prefaced it about not thinking about the money, because, and I think that's the key there, is that the awareness of your money is, I think, what will stifle creativity. Because I believe that a sense of desperation actually inspires creativity. There is depending on any kind of situation, when the chips are down, and I think we've spoken about this before. I think that affirmative action happens more frequently when you're at the bottom. When you've got nowhere to fall. This is it. This is the last straw. You've got to do something.
Yeah.
And there's creativity behind that. There's not, okay, well, what can I do? I can do that, or I can do this, or I can try and do that. And that's really where things get thought of and things happen in that situation, in those environments. On the flip side, if you've got lots of money, you're correct. You have to, ideally, you would not have to be aware of it and just allow the creativity to flow. Otherwise, people can get lazy and go, well, I've got enough money. I don't need to create anymore. Because I think there's a pattern that people tend to follow where they have a gift. They're creative in some aspect, whether it's art, whether it's language, whether it's something else, and that is linked to a particular amount of enjoyment in doing it. I think, oh, this is really fun. I'm really good at this. And then they go, well, I'd really love to do this and get paid for it. And then they do that. And then, and I'm certain, you know, people that this has happened to, they start to do more of this creativity. They start getting paid. And now the passion starts to fade because they're getting forced to create against, you know, the natural inspiration, because there's money now behind it. And it's like, well, we've paid you this, you should do this. And then you know, it's almost like writer's block in a way. Yeah. And enough of that, you know, means that the creativity actually gets stifled, because it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to do this for me. Yeah. And like, sure, it's probably given me some money, but now my creativity is lost because, you know, for the longest time I was doing it because I just loved doing it. And then I thought I could make some money off of it, and I have. But now, like, you know, the money is actually forcing me to do it, something against my will. You know, sure, I don't wake up out of bed at 7 o'clock anymore because I have to finish this job because it was, you know, it's like 4 weeks late, sort of thing. Yeah. So I see creativity and money on both sides as well. Whereas if there's nothing there, and I genuinely believe that when people hit rock bottom, that's when action that's when things happen, you know, when real threat is there, you know, because when people are comfortable trying to start something creative, I'm not saying it's difficult. I'm not saying that no one does it. I'm saying that, you know, people can use it as an excuse. Oh, you know, I'll do it next week because I've got other jobs to do. You know, I'm serious about doing this, but, you know, I've got to get these jobs off first. Oh, I don't like the color of my logo. I'll just play around with that. You know, and it sometimes it might take off and other times it don't. But generally speaking, if you're trying to do something creative from a place of comfort, unless you really, really, really just like doing it, it's difficult to make it something that you want to make money from. But if you've got nothing going on, you know, if you're down to your last, whatever it is, you'll be creative. Not so much to make something, but you'll be creative in the way that you're thinking. I'll do this and I'll action that, and then maybe I can flip over this other idea and start this instead. And next thing you know, you've got a job. You might be working towards something. You know, there's a bit of get up and go from that situation. You know, whereas if you've got a lot of cash, you know, there are some people that are just like, I've made this. Screw this. You know.
I guess. There's a real balance point, isn't there? Because that story you were saying, you know, where you start doing your art or your creativity, and then it gets to the point where you're doing it because you have to do it now because you're getting paid for it. I remember feeling that so many times, especially throughout art school as well. Yeah. All I wanted to do was be an artist, get into some sort of commercial art, you know, and even at school, I'd do my pieces, whatever it was, something quite original. And, you know, the teachers would say, oh, no, that won't kind of cut it in society. You've got to do it this way or something. Yeah. And I'd go, but this is art, you know, this is what I want to do. And it's, I mean, that could be the reality, you know, someone's paying you to do a commission job and you have to do what they want to do. So for me, that was never art. I mean, it's art, job. But yes, it is, because you're doing something for somebody else. They're not buying your piece of artwork or something that you've created. You're creating something that they envisioned, I guess, you know, or something that they wanted. So for me, that was a completely different interpretation. Had that happened through art school, that happened through music for me, in many aspects. And I thought, oh my God, what's going on here, you know? But I remember Jimi Hendrix as well, you know, and in a interview, I think the guy was Dick Cavett. Long time ago, we're talking 70s, right? And but at that time, Hendrix was at the height of his career, and he said to him, you know, you started off singing the blues and things like that, and how can you sing the blues now that you're getting paid so much money? You know, and Hendrix said to him, you know, it makes it even easier sometimes now to sing the blues because so many things have changed. the money might be there, but things that he was able to connect to before have kind of been taken away. Like I guess the fact that his freedoms and that sort of thing, what he had before. He could probably just walk on the street before, which he couldn't anymore. And we know that happened with Elvis, right? So you build your own prison. And, but, so he found that he still had that creativity, and he was going deeper into his creativity, I guess, because it became a sanctuary for him even more. So, yeah, there's two sides of a coin, isn't it? And perhaps it comes down to the person that's, in the situation at the time. You could be without any money in your pocket, and you find a creative way of making it happen. If someone gives you the money, yes, you might become that person that does nothing with your life because now it's too easy. And I think that's where you have to kind of assess it yourself. What kind of person am I? Am I kind of driven because of the pain, or now am I in a position where everything's good, that I can really move towards that the thing that I love to do? And kind of comes down to that. What type of person are you? Run away from pain or move towards pleasure? And through that self-assessment, maybe that's where you find your sweet spot. If it takes away your creativity, I guess that's tragic. If you're actually paid to do something that you'd love to do, but it's taken away because the money has made you too comfortable. So I guess you're right. It could be either side of those things. Where's that? The balance point is the point of no creativity, I guess, isn't it? Where you've got the money, you've got enough money to live off. You can do whatever you want that you choose, but you choose nothing because you don't have the drive anymore. And perhaps for those people that's a curse to have that. And those that are that would benefit, it's a good thing. It's there's no one right answer, unfortunately. No, I don't think. No.
And that's where I thought UBI was coming in, where if we're all getting paid the same amount, and I'm taking it on its definition, then like why bother? Your needs are getting met. Let's just say that, for example, it was almost communist rule, where if you were allowed a certain level of creativity, yet you're not financially benefiting from it because it's controlled by the government or something like that. Like, would you still pursue it?
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing. How creativity in itself is a godsend. It's like the best thing ever. But then when you start to tie it to money and everything else, it starts to get very muddy, and it becomes not creative at all, to the point where it's like you don't want to tarnish it, because it's something that you enjoy doing. And then when it becomes a job, it turns from becoming a passion to a chore. You're like, oh, I used to like doing that. Now I hate it.
Yeah.
Which is what you don't want. Yeah. I think we should ask the same question to people that are a little bit more, I was going to say, it's not a good word, but like boring in a way. People that are more content with their life.
Yeah.
Because I'd be genuinely interested to hear what they say. They might be like, oh, I'll just leave it in the bank.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, how much money do you have in the bank now? I'll just put it with the rest of the $500,000. And the funny thing is, there are some people that would be like that, and again, there are those people that I think I sometimes I'm jealous about, because like their head must be like such a nice, quiet place, like a cozy place, whereas my head's all over the place. Like, I want to do this, I want to try that.
Yeah.
If I had that money, like I would put some money towards there, I would do this, and I love it. I love how it is, but but just trying to think of how a person could just be like, oh yeah, I might take a holiday and I'll put the rest in the bank. Like,
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yes, I do know some people like that, but for me, I think maybe every time you and I meet, I'm onto something new.
Yeah.
And but I do like it that way. It keeps things interesting. That doesn't mean the thing we weren't talking about last time. I've kind of closed the door on that, but it's kind of like, there's this other new thing, and it keeps life interesting for me.
It does.
I think if I woke up and there was everything was bland to me, that would be tragic, I think, for me. Yeah.
It's cool. There was a video I recorded, it would have been 6 months ago, and I kind of have to revise it lately. But I love the concept of sliding doors. And of all the stuff that I've tried, some have gone good and some have failed, but each one taught me something about something, about either myself or a process, or or it taught me a skill, or it uncovered something that I thought I didn't know at the time until I kind of looked back on it.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the things that I try, because I wouldn't try them in the first place, right? Because I think that they might have either legs. I think it's fun. I think it's something that could, change the world in a way. And sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it does. More often than times it doesn't. Sometimes it's quite a big undertaking. But each time I've tried it, I've sat back and I've gone, okay, well, I can do this now. After starting this is what I learnt. After starting that, I found that I've got a skill that I can do this. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? I spent so much time doing X. I wish I didn't do it. Or, so much time doing Y. If I had done this instead of doing that, I'd be in a different spot. But it's like, well, if I had not done that, then I wouldn't have learned this about myself. And it meant that I'd be in a totally different position now, because, a lot of the times when you do something and ends up being shit, you kind of learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
In fact, at least for me, I learn more about myself when I do something wrong, as opposed to just me going with my strengths and going, oh yeah, I kind of knew I was good at that anyway.
Yeah.
I kind of expected that because I'm good at doing this. And so if I go down this path and use my skills, then I don't learn anything, because I already knew I was like that. It's when I'm like, I think I'm good at something and I do it and I'm not. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe my skills weren't as good as what I thought. I should have done it this way, or I should go back to school and actually learn, or I should reach out to people and find out what it is, instead of being, so self-absorbed about my own knowledge, thinking I know the best. And then moving forward, that's something that I'm like, okay, well, now I know what to do next time it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I think many times in our head, it's a nice place, when we go, oh yeah, look at that thing, and I want to give that a try. And I think I'd be really good at that. And so many times I've gone, you're really shit at that. But it's, without, like you said, without trying, you don't know. But at least when you get to that place, you can make a decision and you've tried it and go, no, I don't want to do that. Or I'm going to push myself and, I really want to achieve this. I'm shit at it now, but tomorrow, who knows?
Yeah.
I do like that place.
There's always things you can do. People, people play that 6 degrees of separation game. Who was it? Kevin Bacon was the guy that everyone picks on. But you can do something similar with things in your life that you can go back on and go, the reason why I'm here, you think to yourself, the reason why I'm here is because I've done this or I met that person. But if you go back and try and figure out how you met that person or how you got that skill, more often than not, it's as a result of you messing up somewhere, or you trying something, or you going, you know what, I'm going to go to this networking event, which I don't think is going to be the best. And so you do it. You might do it for 6 months and go, oh, that was a waste of time and money, only to find that you met somebody 6 months ago that you're still doing work with now, who's introducing you to something else.
Yes.
I had an excellent example of this. It was funny. It was only just yesterday I had spoken to somebody who it was almost full circle, to the point where I'm still I'm still trying to wrap it up in my head because it was such a weird story. It actually deserves its own like podcast episode for me to try and explain it. But it was a friend of mine who I have known for about 20 years now. And the reason we first initially met when she was working at a company that I was looking after IT wise. Anyway, so 20 years ago, met her, and she left the company. And so I lost touch with her for a while. She started another company. She rang me up. I started looking after the company that she was working for. And so we had a very professional relationship, with that. And so that was just, it just developed. It's a professional relationship. I'm pretty good with clients. I love chatting, and socializing at the same time. So we became good friends, as with pretty much all my clients. And I think it was around my 30s, so maybe after a decade or so, that whole midlife crisis thing. You look at different things. I really got into spirituality, and I kind of kept it to myself and started working on myself. Anyway, I think the company at the time she was working for was, I don't think it was about to go under, it was getting sold. And by then, I think I was speaking to her only maybe once every quarter or something like that, just based off how busy she was in terms of IT issues. And she was telling me about the company that was it was for sale, and I thought, let's just catch up because this could be one of the last times that we speak, because unless you work for something for somebody else, I'd consider her a friend, but it's not like I would call her out of the blue and say, "Hey, how's it going?" Sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we caught up, and I basically told her like what was going through like my life at the time. Everything was fine, but I was just looking for a bit more meaning. And I was telling her, how I was getting like super woo-woo and all this sort of stuff. And she's like, "Oh, okay. I didn't really know that about you." It's like, yeah, it was just like, I kind of had a thing, but I thought I'd sort of dig a bit deeper, and, I found some stuff that I really liked. And she's like, "Oh, I'm kind of the same as well." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I didn't really know that." And she's like, "I've been trying to get back into it because I was kind of like it as a kid." Okay. Anyway, and so I thought, we kept in touch. I'm like, that's really interesting. Let's just talk about this a bit more. Anyway, introduced. So the business got sold. She didn't have much work. Introduced her to somebody that taught Reiki. So she did Reiki 1 with her. Then she did Reiki 2 with her, and then she did Reiki Master with her. And now she has been giving like all different people Reiki, and she's actually quite gifted. And I've been recommending people to her just because she wants to practice. And I said to her, like, I know a couple of people that would help. So I reached out to these people and said, "Hey, meet my friend. She does Reiki. Please see her. She's very good. And she needs the practice if she's not going to charge you." So a couple of friends are like, "Okay, cool." And they kind of never really followed up at the time. And that was fine. Everyone's busy, and I don't want to push them and all that sort of stuff. And sometimes it can be seen as a funny thing anyway. Anyway, some time had passed, and I caught up with these friends who I'd recommended to see my other friend for Reiki. And they kind of needed it at the time. And I said, "Hey, man, like, I think you should see her." She's like, "Oh, okay, fair enough." So she saw my friend, gave her Reiki. Excellent. She needed it. Perfect. And this whole thing comes out full circle. It's so weird. So my friend that had given the Reiki was talking to my other friend who I recommended. And she's like, "Well, how much do I owe you?" I said, No. This is free. Like, it was my intention to give you Reiki. So there's no payment. And she's like, No. Let me pay you. She's like, No. Look, what you can do is this. Paid forward. Just paid forward. Buy a coffee for somebody. If there's somebody that is is homeless and you're around, maybe throw some dollars, whatever. And then she decided to extend the story a little and go, okay, because there's a guy at my local supermarket, he's there every week, and when he's there, I buy him chicken just so that he's got something to eat. And my friend stops, and she said, "You know what? I think that's my brother that you've been giving the meals to every time." I'm like, "No way!" And she's like, "Yeah, I think it is." And I'm like, "Oh my god, it's really true." So it was,
That's crazy.
and it's those sorts of things there that I think that the relationships that you create decades ago, you think that in the most part, you kind of think they're kind of throwaway. You meet them and you might know them for a couple of years, and then they go off and you never hear from them again. Like, you'd be surprised, like, shit comes back. And it's like, wow, like, I wasn't expecting that. And if at any point in that time, like, that chain breaks, like, they wouldn't be where they are, that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
And it's just those things there that are like super.
Yeah, 100%. If you hadn't mentioned, hey, I'm a little bit woo-woo. And
it was what we talk about that constantly, because it was something that at the time, it's funny because I can still picture it in my head, the cafe that we went to, where we were sitting, and me telling her in a way that was, it's not an uncomfortable conversation to have, but it's not something that I could freely throw into a conversation with I knew her well, but it was still a bit, waiting for the right time and go, whoop, I'll put it in there.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was you, like, that's all we talk about, right?
Yeah.
If we didn't talk about it, it would be weird.
Yes, correct.
But for other people,
like if we sit there and just talk about business.
Yeah, I know, right? But for other people, you have to think of the right time.
Yes.
And that started off with her going to see, getting her Reiki master, and she is actually quite gifted. So and she's now blossoming, and it's all fun.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for today. We kicked over an hour. Talking from $500,000 to universal basic income to creativity to everything else. Shane, where can people get a hold of you if they want to?
At awaken.guide.
Perfect.
My website. Yeah.
Awesome. And I am available if you go to dex.thedecafnetwork.com. Shane, you have a good Christmas.
You too. All the best.
I will chat to you, I think, shortly after that.
Absolutely.
See you, man.
Take care, buddy.
Bye.
See ya.